How about we go over some of my observations on the Russian tactics, equipment, and miscellaneous things in the ongoing Ukrainian-Russian conflict here in the bunker. Are you ready for that? Bet you didn't see this video coming. It's rather accidental that I'm making this video. It's been on my mind for not that long, really, just like 3 days. And that's after a conversation I had with a Russian guy I know. I would not call him a friend. I think he's a douche, to be honest. I don't like being around him. He's abrasive, but for whatever reason, I was talking about the war with this Russian guy. And I did mention, to be fair, because I like to be fair and honest in everything I do here in the project, I did mention to him, I lament the fact that the Russian side of the war is not shown. It's not portrayed anywhere. The CPF, the mainstream media, as you guys call them, lies about everything, and they're just not honest about what's really going on in the conflict. This individual, a Russian, he said, well, you're in luck because there is an embedded dude with the Russian forces, and he posts videos in YouTube. And I was like, what? His name is Patrick Lancaster, and a big shout out goes out to Patrick. I don't know Patrick, but I have nothing but the deepest respect for what he is doing. Patrick is just a YouTuber, a family man, from what I can gather, that has chosen to embed himself as a journalist into various Russian units. And he's not really trying to promote any viewpoint. All he's doing is covering what's going on. He is covering the Russian side of things, something that honestly I had not heard. Well, I had heard it, but not in video form. I'd read many things. I've done a lot of research on the war. I think I am up to speed on everything that's going on. Not everything, but a lot of things that are going on. So a big shout out to Patrick Lancaster. I will put a link to his channel below. He's also on Substack. He does ask for some donations to support his work. I donated to him. I support several creators with my money. I hope you do the same, including me. I have my Patreon down below. This video is made possible by my paying donors. Thank you very much. In this video, I will just go over random things that I learned and thought about while binge watching probably, I would say, 6 hours of Patrick's in-field coverage with Russian units in combat operations currently. I think you'll find it very interesting. Now, I do not stand up here and act like I'm an expert at anything. I'm not an expert at Ukrainian-Russian relations. I'm not an expert on the war. I'm not an expert on military equipment that the Russians are using. All I am is a tactical gear reviewer, retired military officer. I do have a systems approach. I do have a good, I think, sense of common sense that guys are attracted to. And I'll just make some observations. But who am I to say anything? The answer is nobody. So also, when I'm looking at Patrick's videos, it's like looking through a soda straw. I do not see, you won't see the big picture, the strategic picture of what is actually going on. I will make some critiques and even some criticisms of what I've seen going on in the Russian units. And again, this is focused on tactics and gear. And I think you can extrapolate some lessons learned, maybe apply them to your own systems. I think it will be very useful for you. It will be very illuminating. You can do it like I did when you have time, binge watch the videos. I will say this. They're hard to watch, not because they show gore, because he's posting them in YouTube, so he actually makes them pretty sanitized. But they're hard to watch because they're all subtitled. It's not something you just put on and listen to. Patrick does speak some level of Russian. He does communicate with the soldiers. It is good he does, because most of them do not speak English. Some of them do. And so he does a great job, and I'm sure puts a lot of work into it. I'm very familiar with the post-production process. He subtitles a lot. So you're going to have to sit down and really absorb these videos, maybe put it on 1.5, 1.25 speed to get through them. That's if you're interested. Getting shot at. And he's an interesting dude from what I know. He's not a gear guy like we are. He doesn't know military weapons. He doesn't have the lingo. He's just a dude. He's not the best spoken person out there. He has sometimes a hard time formulating his thoughts. Me too, by the way. And not repeating himself, but whatever. I really love and gravitate towards content creators like this because they're so honest. They're so real. They're not AI enhanced. They're not writing a script. He's just honest, and I love that. That's the way I try to be on my project. I mean, here's my notes right here. That's all. I just got bullet points, and I'm just talking extemporaneously. So when I saw some of his older videos when he's embedded with Russian units, and his reporting style was very choppy. You could tell he's just learning how to do it. Really didn't know. It was interesting. And then he got better. I think his videos that have come out within the last year are so much better. He's more calm. He knows how to transmit information. He asked some good questions. He asked the Russian units. You will find, and by the way, while I'm talking, I will overlay some of Patrick's video. I give him full credit for that. I will banner his channel multiple times throughout the video because it gives us something to look at instead of just me. I will not necessarily, by the way, try to time the subject I'm talking about with the overlays. I won't do that, but you'll get the flavor of what's going on. I was very impressed in several videos about how smart the Russian soldier, the standard soldier, is in the political situation, and I'll probably make another mention of that. They are very aware of the corruption of the West, and I don't want to get deep into the weeds with this. This is not a political video, but they're aware that Ukraine is used as a proxy for a lot of the initiatives of the corrupt West. I'll just leave it at that. They're not stupid. Keep in mind, when you watch those videos, your tax dollars are going towards killing the people you're watching on Patrick's videos. At least they have been. You know, with Trump in, I'm not so sure how that's looking now. I'm pretty sure he shut down that funding, but for many years it was. They were getting billions of dollars all wasted, misspent, and funneled to, well, corruption in a lot of cases. But your tax dollars have gone towards, your military equipment have gone towards killing the Russian soldiers, who are normal dudes. Most of them, I think. And I think that's sad. I also am very empathetic and feel horribly for the Ukrainian soldier. I would love to see this conflict come to an end, and it was really hard to watch a couple episodes seeing these Ukrainian kids get killed. It's just so heartbreaking. And a lot of these kids are conscripted in Ukraine. They either have jail time or they go out and they fight, and they're cannon fodder. Same on the Russian side. There's conscripts there, and there's just these kids just getting killed for no reason. It's hard. It's weighty. And if you don't take anything out of watching Patrick's videos, you should take that. And that is just how sad and sometimes pointless war is. And that is there a better way we can do this without slaughtering good people? It's just sad. Now, you may find that somewhat ironic as I stand in front of a MG42 and I am a tactical gear reviewer, but sometimes war is necessary, and sometimes there's evil people trying to do evil things, and the force is a universal language that is understood. It is the ultimate political weapon. So it is what it is. So I acknowledge its necessity. Let's get to it. Again, these are just random observations watching Patrick's embedded videos with what appear to be small units with the Russian army. And let me start by saying this. And I made a video probably, 2.5, 3 years ago when this war started kicking off. And I was like, I really don't understand what Russia's doing. I mean, they could win this thing pretty easily, even with the Western support of Ukrainian forces. I said even then, I was like, it's like they're slow rolling it so they do not escalate the situation with the West, especially the United States. And I think that is still going on, but I'm not positive. And the reason I say this is I haven't seen any of Patrick's videos showing combined arms, showing a large military unit operating in a manner which I feel is very intelligent. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that what he's showing are a bunch of Russians doing stupid things. That's what I'm saying. But if you want to win the war, you're going to have to draw upon lessons learned in past conflicts. Combined arms is one of those lessons. And it means the application of force, overwhelming force, hopefully using armor, air, foot soldiers, coordination, and now drones in a coordinated fashion to achieve a military objective in a timely fashion. Not in any of his videos have I seen that process, and it is rather surprising to me. I would think he would have embedded with, I don't know, a brigade, a battalion, and gone. Really, we would have seen some major military action to push the goalposts in this ongoing battle. Usually, in regions of Ukraine, Kursk region, perhaps too. That's what I would think, but I have not seen that. What I do see is these guys. I got to pull this thing up here. Operating in small units, bro. Very small units. Where is that? I don't know where I put it. I'm looking for this OneNote thing that I took, but I don't need it. I don't see any large units, working with a forward air controller, airstrikes coming in. Again, I'm not the expert, but I do have gone to military war courses, graduated from such. You want overwhelming combined arms to overwhelm your enemy. I don't see any of that in his videos. What I see is him embedding in small units, and I mean really small units, like 4 dudes, 5 dudes, and they're running around in an SUV. Now, you could make the point, well, they're less of a target in a vehicle that looks more civilian in regards to a drone attack, and I think that's a fair point. I see that. I didn't see any of his soldiers. Again, I watched a lot. I didn't see any of the Russian soldiers in armored vehicles. I didn't see them working with tanks, APCs, BMPs. It was just a little bit odd. And I'm wondering if he's given access just to certain units. That could be the thing. I do think the Russian government knows of Patrick, and obviously, because they're allowing him to embed in those forces, and actually, from what I can gather, talk quite honestly and show a lot of what's going on. I don't feel like his videos are edited by the Russians at all. I think they trust him. I think they value that he is attempting to get out their side of the issue, which has not been done and will not be done by the Western media. All right, anyways, on we go. Again, random. First thing I noticed is when these troops are operating, I don't see any medical support whatsoever. So some dude gets hit, he takes a round outside the chicken plate, maybe in his body, lower fat here. I was really kind of wondering, where's your medic? Do you have a corpsman there? I didn't see anything. I didn't hear him talking about medical evacuation. Hold on, let me back that up. In one video, they did say, hey, we have a troop hit. We're going to go get him and drive him out in this SUV or this microbus, whatever they had. So it's just the troops evacuating them. But it's not like a United States military we have at least that I could detect. And again, I'm looking through a soda straw. There might be something on the periphery I missed. But it was shocking to me that, like, where's your medical dude? What's your plan? And some of these guys are deep into enemy territory. They're trying to engage the enemy. They're 700, 800 meters away. And again, I don't see any medical. I see a lot of red dots on their AKs, their Russian service rifles. Didn't see many scopes. There were some thermal scopes that I saw, and they seem to be generally off-the-shelf types maybe AGM is what I saw, and maybe Pulsar. I couldn't really tell, but one dude did have a thermal scope. But I see red dots, which is unusual. Lots of, again, I didn't see any I shouldn't say any, very few fully automatic assault rifles other than Russian standard issue. I see a lot of those. Most of them are equipped with extendable stocks, the latest issue of pistol grips, the ability to mount optics, VGs on them. I do see that. And I'll interject this. I saw a lot of rifle action, and that's what they were relying on. I saw very little heavy weaponry integrated into these units, i.e. I see dudes carrying RPGs. In one video, I did see a fully automatic 40 millimeter, I think it's a 40 millimeter Russian grenade launcher. I forget the name of it, but it was a high angle defilade situation where they're just lobbing at like 1,200 meters or something shells. It wasn't like direct action. Getting back to Western tactics, specifically U.S. tactics, and again, I'm not the expert. Generally, we will integrate different levels of firepower. So the rifle is, obviously it's going to be at the lowest level, but we're going to integrate light machine gun, heavy machine gun, probably other things too, anti-tank weaponry, dragons. Dragons are probably gone by now, but ways to answer, an assault, a superior force assault. Assault rifles, in my opinion, they're okay, but I don't think that should be your first way of overtaking the enemy. My overall take, and I may have mentioned this earlier, is that it's almost like they are intentionally staying very low key. The Russians are, that they're not. They're like fighting with one hand tied behind their back. That's what I thought. I don't see a lot of systems integration there. Again, integration with armor, even air support, helicopters. I didn't see any of that. Now, let me interject this. The drone warfare is real. It is overreaching in the Ukrainian-Russian conflict from what I can gather. And it seems like at this point, most fatalities are happening to drone action. There are reconnaissance drones that both sides will send out, and they will actually go on a hunter mission looking for targets of opportunity, whether it be armor, congregations of troops, hideouts, fortifications, and then they'll send in probably a FPV drone. That's a first-person view piloted drone with kind of like a thermobaric bomb, which I understand is very effective, and they'll fly it right into that hooch, that bunker, wherever. There's a lot of drone activity going on. I do see in his videos that the Russians will have a drone detector on frequency. It'll start to beep when they hear drones, or when a drone is on that particular frequency band. From what I can gather, it will start beeping. And they don't necessarily, you would think, we're going to run for cover. No, they've learned the sounds of different drones. They know a Mavic makes a different sound, DJI makes a different sound, or whatever other types are running out there. And they can actually tell if it's a reconnaissance drone by sound. And all this is subject to change, but this is just when it was filmed. And they seems like they go mostly by that. There is electronic warfare implemented by both sides to disrupt the flying of these drones, disrupt their flight capabilities, their imaging capabilities. In one video, I did see where the Russians actually took over the viewfinder of a Ukrainian FPV drone, and they could see exactly what he was looking at. So this does go on. EW is not necessarily, from what I gather, a solution to everything, because once you start emitting, they can actually home in on that EW signal, and you can have a thermobaric bomb fly right up your pipe, from what I can gather again. Moreover, it's not always effective. Some of the drones are flown by optic fiber, so they're not emitting anything. It's just spooled out optic fiber, and more of that is happening. Drones have changed the nature of warfare, I think, forever, and this conflict proves it. I did see integration of shotguns. Finally, I've wondered where they've been for all these years, because I think if you're talking about a small unit, whatever that is, let's say it's an 8-man unit, you should have probably, in my opinion, at least 2 semi-automatic shotguns ready to go for close-in drone action, anti-drone fire. I saw multiple videos where these guys, either with iron sights or with their red dots, are engaging with their AKMs or at long range. I'm talking like 400 meters, 500 meters. And I'm like, dude, there's no way you're going to hit that drone. It's traveling quickly. It's a moving target. I've shot a lot of AK variant rifles. Their sights are absolute garbage for preciseness. Of course, they didn't hit it, that I could tell. And then I did see a couple engagements with shotguns. And these shotguns, by the way, you would think they'd be a standard issue item from the Russian military. I don't see that at all. I see them being completely off the shelf. I see Turkish-made semi-automatic shotguns in the hands of some of the soldiers. And I think I saw what was a Turkish-made VR-60, of which I do own one. And I've told you, it's an excellent shotgun. I don't have it here in the bunker. And I do have this, my Stoeger M3000. Oh, I'm sorry, this is A300 Ultima. This thing's bitching. They'd love to have this. This is a great anti-drone, albeit maybe rounds-wise it doesn't quite have enough. The VR-60 with this magazine capability, at least if you're vehicle-borne, would be a better option. So I did see them using that. So, body armor. I do see most of the troops wearing body armor. I don't know exactly what. They're probably wearing, I would think, probably level 3 or level 4 plates. In his earlier videos, I didn't see enough armor, if you're asking me. In his latest videos posted within the last, I would say, 8 months, I see him, Patrick Lancaster, the embedded journalist, wearing a lot of body armor. I'm talking like arm shields, crotch shields, gauntlet around his neck, like a big armored collar. And that's probably level 3A armor, better than nothing. But armor is being worn. My overall take on body armor in combat is I just don't think, I didn't mention that later they are wearing more, but still, if you wear like an LBE and you just have protection right here, it's not very much protection. You can take rounds all over, in your jugular, in your head, down in your abdomen. It's just protecting your heart and lung region. I would like, and I did at one time, have an armor plate carrier that had bigger panels. The downside is if you come up to, to shoot a pistol or just mobility, you run into those panels and it constrains your movement. So guys have, over the years, they've just accepted this small 10 by 12 area, sometimes even less than that. Some of these Russians hide their faces. And then it's funny, like they'll hide their faces and then later in the video you'll see them and they forgot that, oh, I was hiding my face. Why do they do this? Well, I think it's understandable, because if they're captured, it's just probably better that they hide their faces so they don't know who they are. They can't like intimidate their family, capture their family somehow in some secret operation. But I get it. But a lot of them are trying to remain anonymous. So others don't care. Others are right on camera showing their face, talking. I didn't really write this down, but I'm going to mention this now. I think the camaraderie amongst the Russians in action right now is impressive. I think the level of support they have for one another, at least in these units of which we have an insight into, is very high. He did embed with what's called the Akhmet Special Forces units, and I've learned about them. I don't really know what their training entails. How special are they? Don't know. I think they're from Chechnya, and I think they're Sunni Islamic fighters. And if they're Chechens, they're badass. You should know that. They are legit fighters. They have a great track record, and they don't give up. And his videos seem to bear that out. So I'm impressed by their leadership, their sense of camaraderie, them taking care of each other. And again, I think most of them, there are some are not well-spoken, but some are very well-spoken, and they're very knowledgeable about the political situation, and they speak freely about it. I find it interesting that there's no standardization amongst our equipment. I mean, like none that I could detect. Maybe they're service rifles, AK variant rifle, okay. But as far as their uniforms, they look like United States multicam uniforms, and there's different colors of this or that, greens, browns, running jacket, olive drab equipment. I mean, I honestly don't know how they tell themselves apart other than from their armband, and I think that's what they're going by. So the Ukrainians are taping their arms, sometimes their service rifles, in blue, and the Russians are taping them in red, and I think that's a primary way for them to designate who's who. Red is an unfortunate color because it's very bright. It's easily visible, and it kind of counteracts any attempt at camouflage you would be attempting, but that's what they're doing. Some videos I watched, there's no tape on them at all, and again, I'm going, how in the hell do you guys know who's who? How do you not get friendly fire accidents? I don't have the answer to that. I would tell you this: if I was a unit commander, I don't care in what war, my dudes, I want them to look standard. I want us to be easily identifiable, and hopefully, if at all possible, have a standard uniform and just look like we're a unit instead of, just ragtag hiking group. A lot of them look that way. This is odd too. So I mentioned that they would close, and it seemed like they wanted to close within 800 meters of the front line. And again, every video is a little bit different. They're not always trying to close an enemy. Sometimes they're doing urban sweeps through houses, through a village that's been retaken after the Ukrainians went through. They're retaking it. So every op is different. But in several videos I watched, they are closing within that range of the enemy. They know the enemy's there through reconnaissance drones. They have information. They also have other recce units who have gone out and given them information. So there is some reconnaissance going on, it would seem to be. Speaking of which, there's encrypted communications that these Russians are doing. They got radios that they're talking. I would say probably too loudly in some situations. Loud talking like in a forest, I'll get to that. But again, I'm looking through a soda straw. I don't know the whole situation. But when you close within 800 meters of an enemy, we're at war. Okay, so let's say you're at war. So you've decided you want to take this land back. You have a military objective. We want to push the enemy. I'm just arbitrarily saying, let's push them 20 clicks back. That way we're going to take this. We want to apply force, lethal force. Where's your precision rifle fire? Where's your sappers? I didn't see any of that with these embedded units. I didn't see anybody who looked like he knew what the hell he was doing in regards to running a precision rifle. I didn't see any precision. I didn't see any AR-10s with optics. No. And again, this is just what Patrick was covering, but I didn't see any precision bolt-action rifles and .338 Lapua or whatever calibers, 6.5 Creed. I didn't see any of that. Precision rifle fire, if you're trying to control space, should never be taken off the table. Even with drone activity going on, precision rifle fire, in my way of thinking, and that's all it is, can change a conflict. Because up to and including, and I'm talking me, if I'm banging behind the trigger, up to 1,000 meters, guys will not want to come out. And that will get known. They're like, hey, don't show your face. Stay in your hooch, in your hideaway, in your ditch, because there's snipers out there and they're good. This guy has talent, as they said in Saving Private Ryan. It was odd. I was like, where's your precision rifles? And even if not that, where's just an AR-10 that at least out to 500 meters that you can put directed fire on that? I'd rather have that than a 5.45. I mean, it's not even a competition. Didn't see him. No sappers, no precision rifles. Some soldiers, I was really surprised how few mags they had on themselves. Like, I'm looking at a couple guys, they have like 2 magazines. Like, really, dude? You're in the middle of a war and you're carrying 2 mags? Maybe you have some more in your backpack and your side pouches. But for me, my standard combat load would be 180 rounds. However, I carry that with another 180 ready to go. Speaking of which, I didn't see any direct logistical support to these units. I see them self-contained, traveling, like I said, in civilian vehicles, carrying what they have on them, carrying what they have in the vehicle. But I didn't see anyone ready to go as a QRF to go help these guys out. and supply them, back them up. Again, maybe I missed it. Odd. It's just odd. Now, there was a video I watched last night, and those guys were loaded for bear. They were doing an armed recce patrol. At least that's what they were trying to do, to figure out where the Ukrainians were, and then they were going to, I think, just reconnoiter the area, get the information out to other units like artillery units, drone units, and maybe capture a couple of prisoners, come back and interrogate them. Those guys were loaded for bear. And those guys, I believe, were Akhmet Special Forces. I think they were carrying the combat load of ammo that I was discussing. But even those guys, when I was looking at them, he's like going through in the gear room, they all look different. Other than they all had, I believe, red armbands, but no standardization. Now, let me say this in case some of you guys are getting excited that I'm saying no standardization. You might be saying, well, in wartime, mother is a necessity of invention. You don't necessarily have the things you want to have. I get all that. I do. What I'm saying is that just for identification purposes, for magazine sharing, for weapon sharing, that's what I'm saying is we should do it. It's just odd that there was very little standardization. And camo patterns that frankly look Western. They don't look Russian at all. A few mags, but again, in some videos, not so much. There were a couple situations, like when they're going through this one village, I kind of felt like the guys that were escorting Patrick, who, by the way, I think did a great job taking care of him, keeping him out of harm's way. I think they care about Patrick. I don't know if he's one of the boys, but they don't want to see him get hurt. They are being very conscientious about keeping him out of houses where there could be an ambush, keeping away from corpses that could have, booby traps, explosive charges set up. They're very good at taking care of him. The one thing I would say is there's a couple times I think the Russian guys were just kind of like glamming for the camera with their weapons, It just seemed, there's a couple situations that they don't ring true to me with what's going on, because you're basically in a cleared village. It's been cleared for at least, from what I understand, 48 hours, and they're acting like it's an active combat zone. Again, maybe I'm completely wrong. I probably am. Sorry if I am. I talk about the Akhmet SF. Poorly supported, I mentioned that. Few heavy weapons, talked about that. They do drive rather fast in their ship boxes, and that is to avoid drone interdiction. And from what I gather, drones are flying all the time, and with different munitions. Some have RPG rounds, some have thermobarics, some have grenades they can drop at will vertically. You've seen the videos. Maybe I overlay a couple, maybe I don't, because I want to post this in YouTube, so I can't really get too graphic. But these vehicles, again, they're shit boxes. I just go, holy cow, is that what you got? One village donated them an ambulance because the Russian soldiers had no vehicle to speak of. They're like, hey, take this ambulance. And, that's a whole thing. Soldiers driving an ambulance. Is that cool? Is it kosher? I don't know. But yeah, one of the vans got a tire. They're changing the village. Now, how much do we infer from this? Are we inferring that the Russians are not taking care of their soldiers, they're under-equipped? That may be the case. I don't really know if any of us have enough information from these videos to make that inference. I would probably counsel against that. All we're looking at is a very small snapshot of small units in action. And those, they seem to have the things they need, albeit, I don't see enough medical there. But I don't know if we can infer that. But the days, early in the conflict, I heard how bad the Russian soldier was, how he's poorly trained, he's a conscript, they're getting their asses kicked by Ukraine. I don't believe any of those reports now. I think most of them were false, meant to instill confidence in the Ukrainian side of the conflict and to drum up political support for the billions we sent that country. That's what I think. I think from what I'm seeing now within the last year, the Russian soldiers are very good. They know how to fire, maneuver. Generally, they know tactics. I will say there's some errors that I personally have seen, but again, I'm not the expert. but they are forced to be reckoned with. I think any combat unit that would go against the guys in a lot of these videos are going to have their hands full, because they don't give up easily. They don't care if they're wounded. And one of them said, hey, the thing about us is we're not afraid to go to Valhalla. So they are committed to their cause. I have seen some cans, suppressors. I think that's probably pretty smart. It just will conceal your position. I've said in my reviews that suppressors are always good, tactically speaking, because they do conceal a lot. And some people go, yeah, you need suppressed ammunition, subsonic. I'm like, bullshit. Anything is better. And that's what I see. I see some of these AK variant assault rifles wearing cans on them. I think it's smart, especially if you're doing house to house, firing in an enclosed area. It's funny, I want to interject this now, and I'm thinking, in our channel and the way we approach readiness and tactical preparation, it's very, in a lot of ways, academic. What I do in a lot of ways is very academic. Even in my drills, it's very academic, because I'm not getting shot at. There's not people getting blowed up next to me. There's no blood. It's actually more of a sport, a game. I've always said that. When the sad reality of war hits in, you see people dying. I don't think people, and from what I can gather in these videos, I don't see them being super concerned about what gear they're using. They are concerned about the mission. Will this work good enough is the question I sense they're asking. They're not going, well, that's not a certain grain bullet. That's not what I wanted. I need this particular scope, that particular red dot, this particular suppressor. I think from what I've seen some Ukrainian videos. I think that early in the war was going on the Ukrainian side, until those volunteers, who have all bugged out, by the way, or gotten killed, they're gone. They realized this is bullshit. It really doesn't matter. I mean, who cares what AR-10 I have if I just took a mortar round right in my foxhole? I'm fucking dead. The reality of war sets in, and so your best laid plans, even when it comes to your gear, can all fall apart. That's my point. I've always said to my law enforcement folks, to my good civilian sheepdogs, you guys, to my military guys, what you do is you get the best system you can, you wring it out, you perfect it, knowing that if it's up here during wartime and during the fog of war, it's probably going to degrade and come down here somewhere. And you can't expect always Murphy's Law to come into play. You're going to have failures of optics, weapon systems, magazines, clothing, boots. Everything fails, especially under hard use. And the weather I see over there, as you know, often cold, icy, snowy, wet, muddy, high winds. It's really good. I mean, just looking at the videos, you guys will learn a lot. I saw several instances where they came across ammo that was left by dead Ukrainian soldiers. They did not pick it up. I'm saying like a cache of ammunition. That may be because they fear it may be booby-trapped. But there was one instance where a guy picks up a PMC, odd brand to see out there in the Ukrainian war, the PMC 556 box. He picked that one up, and there's probably others. It wasn't like, hey, everyone starts scavenging weapons, ammunition. I don't see them doing that at all. So that kind of goes back to the supply chain. If they're doing that, they're probably pretty good on their own side. I don't think they're short on ammo. I don't think they're short on grenades. So maybe that answers that question to some degree. Talked about booby traps. They are out there. There's mines there. It's, again, the whole thing is just, it's just sad. It's sad that these Russian people who, by the way, think of themselves as Russians, they don't like the places I saw getting liberated by these Russian troops. They are pro-Russian. They're not pro-Ukrainian. They're treating these liberators like liberators. It's just sad that these people have to deal with this. Their houses have been destroyed. They got mines laying around, booby traps laying around. It's just, it's heartbreaking. Now, I will say this. I watched one of the videos. It's that one where they're going in to look through the village, make sure that it's okay. They're talking to people. And by the way, I'm not going to integrate this. Go watch the interviews with the elderly woman and the elderly man who are Russian, and they'll tell you how the Ukrainians treated them. They didn't abuse them. They weren't like, physically abusive, but they did, from what I can gather, information imperfect, go through and just ransack their houses, like with a sledgehammer, beating up stuff, just unnecessary demolition against people who are just trying to live. And I didn't see any of that from the Russian side. I don't think any of what Patrick is filming is set up that way. I don't think they're like, okay, everybody, stop the pillaging. We have a Western journalist here. I don't think that's going on. I just don't. I think everything we're seeing on his camera is the way they are. And there's several soldiers who were interviewed and said, yeah, the Ukrainians have done a lot of bad things. They've blown up civilians, schoolhouses, civilian cars. They've killed a lot of innocent people thinking that soldiers were in them. Have the Russians done the same thing? Probably. War's hell, and both sides do bad things. I'm not exonerating the Russians at all. I'm just saying it's a side that's just not represented in the media. Yeah, I talked about how the Ukes ransacked villages, no standard uniforms. I did mention how sad it is that these kids on both sides are having to get killed. It's just heartbreaking. It's just such a waste of life. And I did mention that a lot of the Ukrainians, if not all of them, are conscripts. I've seen videos where a guy's just on the street, a van drives up, and they literally kidnap this military-age young male. He's probably 17, 18, 19 years old, and they throw him in the van, and off he goes to war. I don't think Ukraine has been properly covered the way it really is. I think it's tyrannical in a lot of ways. They've outlawed certain religions. They've imprisoned people who speak against Zelensky and the government. They are not by any means democratic. They're very authoritarian from my information. I have done a lot of research on that. So know what you're talking about in all ways. Now, Russians have conscripts too. But I've not seen a single video where they're driving down a street and throw a Russian in one of these. Speaking of which, they showed one video of the Russians having blown one of these up. This is actually a saber-toothed Tiger APC. It's built on a Ford F550 9-ton. Yeah, but they have a burned out one of these. So they attacked it, I think, with a 40 millimeter grenade launcher. I mentioned that the Russian fighters, several of them had some very poignant things that they said that really rang true with me. I am officially neutral in the war, but if you had to push me, I'm on the Russian side, just because I think the Russian side is actually promoting a traditional Western way of life, not the progressive Western male with male, female with female, transgender way of life. And this was, and again, I don't want this to be political, but I have to address it because the soldiers were talking about this. One was a drone commander, and he was very well spoken. And he said it, we don't want to be out here killing our brothers, but what we are is the last stand. It's something along the lines of progressivism. And he said, like, the LGHTV movement, Western degradation, decay, and all that stuff. And he goes, and we are basically fighting Satan out here. That's what he said. He goes, we are the last stand to promote family values. He actually said that. A Russian soldier. I mean, how many times have you seen that represented in the media? How about none? Thank you, Patrick. That's what he said, and that rang true. He said a lot more things, and they're all on point, and they seem to be accurate. And to be completely honest, I love their Ukrainian people. From what I know, generally, I love their Russian people too. I think what we have is a puppet government in Ukraine, CIA installed leader, Zelensky. It's not good. And doing things, again, I got to be careful here because then I go into the reasons for the conflict. I don't want to do that in this video. I want it to be a tactical gear video and tactics. But I'm trying to summarize what those troops said. I'll overlay those screenshots and you can just read them. They are quite insightful. And these are just grunts. And they somehow know exactly what's going on in the war. Because Patrick is asking him, well, how do you feel about flying your drone into their shelter and blowing them all up? And it wasn't, I didn't really see, or maybe I don't remember any of the Russian soldiers going, yeah, we want to kill those guys. We can't. It's almost they are regretful that they have to be there doing what they're doing. They're like, well, we tried to do it a peaceful way. We tried to do it by negotiation on this war that's been going on since 2014, by the way. I don't know if you know, the war's been going on since 2014.
Ukraine should have been involved with negotiations with Russia, but Zelensky actually issued a decree back in October 2022, no negotiations. So there were no negotiations. Now Trump is starting negotiations. Now the Europeans and Zelensky are saying, oh my God, oh my God. Well, Europe should have been negotiating. All of this came about because of American arrogance and stupidity. Sorry to say. This goes back 30 years. I hope some people here understand that. This is not something that Putin started, although that's everybody's line. But if someone actually knows some history, and I do go back with advising Ukraine and Russia and the Soviet Union before that, so I've been involved personally in these issues since 1989. This is U.S. arrogance that goes back to 1992, when the Americans said, we run the world. We're the unipolar, sole, indispensable nation of the world, sole superpower. And then in 1994, Bill Clinton said, okay, we'll expand NATO and it'll just keep going eastward. We told the Soviets we won't move 1 inch eastward. Doesn't matter. We're going to do it. We're Americans. We do whatever we want. And Zbig Brzezinski, people here know, they should go back and read his grand chessboard book, 1997, where he lays out Washington policy. He actually has a chapter, what will Russia do as NATO expands eastward? And his conclusion is they can't do anything. They'll have to agree to whatever the United States says. So people should learn a little bit of history. Europe, of course, doesn't act at all because it has no foreign policy other than obeying the United States.
He goes, and we couldn't do it. We tried, and so and sadly, this is our political machination now, is the use of force. It's sad, though. It's just sad. Also, along those lines, they were in that village, and there were several KIA Ukrainian soldiers sitting there. He does film some of them, but since it's posted on YouTube, he's not graphic. They show the boots, maybe a frozen face, covered in snow, blue armbands, guys killed. And somewhere in one video, Patrick asks a unit commander, he's like, so what are you going to do with the enemy soldiers that have been KIA here? And he goes, we are going to go back once the action slows down a little bit, and we will have a unit check them for booby traps. We will get the bodies, and we will return them to the Ukrainians and to their families. We'll try to find dog tags, find out who they are, and make proper notification through channels, hey, this guy was killed in combat. And he said, just like we would want done with our soldiers. That's the Russian side. So I thought that was pretty good. I didn't see any instances of them capturing a prisoner. Again, I didn't watch every video. And them being, I shouldn't say unkind. I mean, I don't know. They interrogate him, but I didn't see any instances of, I don't know, them just being cruel to the other side. It seems like there's a mutual respect there. One of the Akhmet Special Forces commanders mentioned, Patrick said, hey, in fighting these guys, what's your opinion? And the Akhmet commander said, they're good. Like, the guys we are fighting, they will not back down. He's like, these are not clowns that we're fighting. Whoever they are, they will stand toe-to-toe with us, and we need to be on their A game and our unit tactics have to be very squared away if we're going to win in a battle against them. Otherwise, we'll get killed. These guys are good. So, props goes to at least some of those Ukrainian forces. They're equally good, equally as committed. Here's another thing that was odd. In several videos, I just see them violating these small Russian units, violating some tactical common sense. And by that, I mean walking down roads in broad daylight with drones flying overhead, not moving at night. Granted, thermal imagery is a whole different thing. How much does it really protect you at night? Who knows? Probably not too much. But they're walking in broad daylight. They did do a pretty good job of spacing out in case one dude takes a RPG hit from a drone or something, doesn't kill everybody. They were good about that. But they're visible from a long ways away is the bottom line. I saw dudes coming up to the edge of a field in broad daylight. There's a tree line, 700 yards to the opposite side, well within range of a sapper, and he's just sitting there talking loudly. I would never let my guys do that. Even if you think you know where the enemy is, hey, they're over here. Well, what if they had a small recce unit come up? One of them has a suppressed precision rifle, and they just decide to take 3 guys out to kill your morale. And then they bug out back to their lines. That stuff happens all the time. And I saw repeated violations of this. Driving in daytime in a vehicle with drones flying overhead. I saw that. I saw them smoking cigarettes in a forest with a lighted fire, cooking, talking loudly, loud radio chatter. Let me say this, and I want to balance it out. I don't have the full picture. I didn't know exactly where they were. I don't know where the enemy is. Maybe for sure the enemy is way over here, like 2 miles away. That could be. But I'm just saying, generally speaking, I didn't see their unit commanders come up to them and say, put the damn cigarette out. I did hear early in the war, there were some, these guys, remember early in the World War, guys were like, I'm going to go volunteer for the Ukrainian side to go fight these evil Russians. Well, number one, you didn't get your information right. They're not that evil. You need to know what the hell you're doing. I wouldn't put my life on the line for that. But these guys, some of them came over with like thermal imaging devices, like thermal flashlights, and they had them turned on and they didn't even know. And there's other guys that has like NVGs, and he's like, turn your damn light off. You're skying it up. A lot of the guys there just didn't have any military experience. Some were never PMCs, and there's all kinds of goofiness going on that could get people killed. And so what I'm saying here is this is easy to control, low-level common sense stuff to make yourself lower profile. If you're walking, walk on the military crest, not on the damn peak. Walk at night. Walk in mine-sanitized areas. Move when you're least expected to move. Move quietly and move with purpose. And you need to know where you're going and how we can most safely get there and most quickly get there. And always, always try to surprise the enemy. Don't become a target. That's the bottom line. There's a lot of walking out in the open. Talked about the shotguns. Again, is a mix mash of shotguns. No standard issue shotguns. Nothing high tech. Nothing you'd think. One was like a wood stocked, probably recoil operated Turkish shotgun. Dude had it taped up a little bit. I think they're just getting the shotguns that they can get. I didn't see any eye protection on dudes, and I thought that's pretty interesting. Even on Patrick. Hey, Patrick, if you see this video, put some damn polycarbonate protective glasses on. I know they get dirty, but just keep them clean as best you can. I think that's, again, simple. I would wear ear protection. If nothing else, foam plugs, silicone plugs in your ear. Those are easy to do. I didn't see many people using those at all. The headgear, I see them. And by the way, silicone plugs, I'm talking about like these. Cheap, easy, waterproof. They last and last. Wear at least those. And you can hear pretty good with them. I mean, it's not like you can't hear people talk. The headgear, I see a lot of Kevlar helmets. I saw a lot of just backwards ball caps. Very non-standardized, but if I was to say the Russian soldiers are using Kevlar helmets, like a Wendy's helmet more than anything. I didn't really see any high-speed tactical gear. I saw a couple guys with ear cups on there like Sword and Pros or something, but I didn't see them using it. Even the SF people, I see them using just a walkie-talkie, talking in it. No high-speed stuff like we see in our forces. Interesting. The LBE I see is interesting. That stands for load-bearing equipment. How do you carry your ammunition? Hopefully your first aid supplies, batteries, multi-tools. It's, again, completely non-standard. I see all types of plate carriers, different colorations, different setups, a lot of low-quality setups. It looks like airsoft gear on the Russian soldiers. Not fitted properly. I saw dudes wearing their plate carriers clear down here instead of bringing it up here where it should be. It's just interesting. A lot of them are like pristine, have no wear on them, no dirt on them, which is interesting because I don't know about you, but anytime I'm in theater doing my testing in the desert, like all my LBE gets absolutely filthy. Now, granted, they're not in desert. Most of them are in snow time, but still, it's dirt is dirt. You're going to get things dirty. And I think any LBE rig that is used, especially in wartime, is going to get absolute wear and tear on it, absolutely filthy. And strangely, I just didn't see many instances of that. And I don't think it's set up. And I'm like, hey, everybody, get this LBE out of the gear. We're going to pretend like we're doing this for Patrick's camera. I don't think that's going on. I think it's legit honest. Yeah, I talked about the loud comms and the smoking. That's all I had written down on this episode. This is long enough. Heck, it's almost an hour. But that's what I got. So if I get a lot of views on this, a lot of supportive comments, then maybe I go through his stuff and I'll pull out some more lessons learned. Again, it's quite possible I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. And I do want to reiterate the sadness of both sides losing life. I hope this conflict can come to a peaceful resolution, and that these two countries, between which there's been a lot of bad blood over many years, it's nothing new, but I hope they can live peaceably with each other and reestablish these sadly destroyed areas. I mean, it just broke my heart seeing these villages and houses blown up, mines scattered through forests, booby traps here, schools blown up. It's just heartbreaking. War just sucks. That's why I always say without rule of law is just total horse shit. We should do everything in our power to use peaceful means, the political process, work it, because trust me, dudes, watch these videos. You don't want to go there. You don't want to have to do what these guys are doing. And again, I don't see any of them being excited about it. I don't see them being bloodthirsty. I see them being dutiful, these Russian soldiers, that they're doing it for their motherland, which they do love. And that one drone commander had a very eloquent way of putting it. He goes, I love everything in my country. I love all the animals, the plants, trees, the flowers. I love my motherland, and I'm here to help the Russian people. Again, this gets into, controversial stuff, but I'm here to help the Russian people that were attacked by the Ukrainians. And that's why we're here. So it's interesting getting some Russian side out. And if you think this is like a huge message, I think he has small amount of subscribers for the message he's getting out. I think Patrick Lancaster could get killed at any time doing what he's doing. It's extremely dangerous. So we should be grateful he's as brave as he is. I mean, he's in the thick of it. That is a remarkable, very remarkable thing. So my hat's off to him. Again, his channel's below. Go subscribe. Give him a shout out. Say Nutnfancy's covering your channel. We really appreciate the message that you're having and getting us the truth and painting a better picture. That's really all it is of the Russian way of thinking. And it's probably not what you thought. So there you go. All right, Lieutenant Colonel Nutnfancy signing off from the bunker. The gun, which I have here, by the way, is a PSA Rock 57. Watch for its review. And this is a very, I didn't get a chance, I don't know why I'm holding this up. This is so cool. This is a Iron Record 09 Pursuit type. Sick. Yeah, those guys need this. How would you like that? Keep watching, subscribe, become a Patreon donor if you want more of this stuff. Thanks a lot. See ya.